Hi, my name is Robin Jane Roff, and I represent the Canadian Union of Public Employees. Thanks for letting us speak today. You've heard today, and every single time you've consulted the public in the CRD, that the residents here do not want a public-private partnership. They want the system to be publicly operated. This was reiterated yesterday in the report on public consultation that you released, in which you state, and I quote, that one of the key themes heard throughout this process is a community desire to have a locally built, publicly owned, and managed treatment facility. This isn't just coming from CUPE, it's not just coming from the labor movement, it's coming from the business sector, environmentalists, community groups, seniors groups, and residents. Now, I'm not going to reiterate all the reasons why a public system is the way to go. Many people are doing that here today. What I want to do is I want to raise a couple of concerns that we have coming out of the discussion paper on procurement around the hybrid model. In this model, you assume that the energy center and the West Shore will be privatized. But never have we heard a reason why this would be so. The only rationales that we have heard are purely political ones. And we were under the impression that this is a selection process based on an objective evaluation of the facts. And the facts are that a public-private partnership does not make sense for any component of this system. You need to consider what creating a hybrid model would actually entail. How would the two systems be effectively integrated? What kind of services would have to be duplicated, and what are the cost implications of duplicating services between the private and the public sector? In Vancouver, the transit system is a hybrid system very similar to that which you are proposing. The Canada Line is a P3, and the rest of TransLink is public. These two systems have separate operation facilities, which means for the residents of the Lower Mainland, their costs are much higher, and it's much more difficult to coordinate procedures between these two systems. In terms of privatizing the energy center, the only justification that we have heard is that the private sector has the better technology. But ownership of technology is not a reason to hand over control and operation of a public service. In fact, if you read your February 3rd discussion paper on procurement carefully, what it actually says on page 36 is that the fully public model provides the best opportunity for innovation and future adaptation of the system for sustainability. It also clearly says that only the public model will provide the flexibility necessary to adopt best practices in the long term. This means that resource recovery is best achieved and best done operated publicly. Why would you hand over control to the private sector when it will result, by your own staff's estimation, in less flexibility and adaptability? Public-private partnerships just simply don't make sense for anything here. I'd like to close with sharing with you just the most recent example of a wastewater P3 failure that came across my desk. This arrived on Tuesday. So the City of Brussels signed a 20-year contract with Aquarius, which is a subsidiary of Veolia, and it has recently had to take Aquarius to court because despite the city's belief that it had transferred the risk of both construction and operation of their wastewater plant to the private sector, in fact, when the model's flaws were actually revealed, instead of living up to its contractual agreement, Aquarius shut the plant down and demanded 40 million euros above the contracted price. Now, the city couldn't do anything. It was stuck. It had signed the contract, and its only option was to take them to court. And so that's where they are right now. For the residents of Brussels, what this means is that they have a mounting debt load, they have mountains of untreated sewage flowing into their rivers, and they have a private sewage treatment plant that does not work. Don't let this happen here. You were elected to protect the public interest. The public is clearly telling you that they want this system to be publicly operated. It doesn't make sense to hive off any component of this to the private sector. I urge you to listen to what your residents and what your electorates are saying and keep this entire system publicly owned, operated, and managed. Thank you.
Thank you.